Hi, everybody. I'm Nathan Agan. Welcome back to the Working Actor's Journey. And we are here for another series in the rehearsal room. This is a project that started 4.5 years ago during the pandemic when we all had a lot of time on our hands. And it was what we could do with all of that time to really dive deeply into material and to see what we can mine from it. So we've been exploring just one scene over the course of a month. And this month, we're going to be diving into a couple scenes from Tom Stoppard's ARCADIA. I personally have a little bit of connection to this play, so I'm excited to see what this group digs out of it, what I might have missed, and what it's just such a great play. If you're not familiar with it, if you are, you know it's funny and beautiful and hilarious. But I'm excited for. We have a number of new artists joining us this round. For those familiar, and I was just thinking about this, every month we do this. It gets further and further from when John Barton did his Playing Shakespeare series. So it's going to sound more and more esoteric the longer I do this and the more times I mention that. But for those people familiar with that series, I kind of feel like that was definitely a big inspiration for this to start. And I see this as kind of a springboard off of that work. Those sessions were scripted to some degree and planned out, but this is raw, unrehearsed. You get to see what is the collaborative process really like, what do a group of professional artists do when they get together and they want to bring material to life. So I'm very excited that everybody here is on board to do that and excited to do that. For those who are new here, what you're going to see is, like I said, it's not planned out. It's not a final performance in any of the weeks. It's just a continuation of the work in progress. The rehearsal room, I think, does a number of different things, but I believe it's really at its core is about collaboration. It's about continuing that legacy of learning by doing and by learning from those who have been doing this for 30, 40, 50 years. It's also an opportunity for us to be more conscious about casting when it comes to age or gender or race than maybe some theaters feel they can be. We can explore these things because it's all about the text here. It's all about the work. So people can play roles they never thought they'd have a chance to play, or they never thought they'd be typed in, or for whatever number of reasons, we've had a lot of actors be able to do parts like that. And you'll probably see some of that come out tonight. Maybe some of the artists will talk about that. What I love about this session, and you may hear of this, we can bring artists together from all over. Right now, we have people all over the country, which is really wonderful. And it's also lovely that you can reunite artists that maybe haven't worked together because they just haven't been in the same geographic space for a while. But now they can play together again, which is great. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do here. Please consider subscribing. We're posting new weekly sessions on YouTube for free for everybody to enjoy. So you can click for notifications of that. You can support the project if you'd like via Patreon, get access to all the sessions a few days early. There's also a podcast version. And I want to say a quick thank you to our patrons, some of our patrons, Joan, Michele, Jim, Magdalen, Ivar, Claudia, Clif, and Jeff. Thank you very much for keeping some of the administrative lights on for us. This, even though we're recording this, think of YouTube as like a discussion. If you have a question, if you have a comment, leave it below. I do try to forward those on to the artists and we can keep the discussion going. But enough for me. Let's get to the work. I will do my producer thing and go to the back of the theater and let these guys have fun. We'll do a quick introduction of everybody and then we'll get to the work. Even though you've heard enough from me, I'll just say I'm Nathan. I live in very rural Northern California, did live in LA for a number of years, did theater down there, worked with a number of these people there. Mostly I do audiobooks now and produce this. So that's what I'm up to. I'll turn it over to our esteemed director, Brendon. He will take it from there, and I hope you guys have a great first session.
Thanks, Nathan. I'm Brendon Fox, playing the role of director. Pronouns he, him. I'm a director, teacher, producer. I'm based in Massachusetts, outside of Worcester, and I mix up my time between freelance directing, teaching at undergrad and graduate schools occasionally, as well as of this past September, I'm the new artistic director of Peterborough Players in New Hampshire. So I'm a huge fan of Stoppard, which you'll hear obviously a lot more about, but I'm excited to see all these faces. And I'll pass it to Chris.
Hello, I'm Chris Guilmet. I am currently in Buffalo, New York, where it is like 12 degrees. But I've lived all over. I used to live in LA, have worked with Brendon, and have worked with Geoffrey many times, worked with Geoffrey. I first saw ARCADIA in 1996 at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival when I was like in my late 20s. And that was one of those like theater experiences that you have where you go like, oh my God. And it was 3 hours long, and I was like, why is it over so soon? And have been utterly besotted by the play ever since. So I'm super thrilled to be doing this and to be playing a part that like left me about 20 years ago in terms of castability. So this is very exciting. Who's next?
You want to pass it, Chris?
I'll pass the baton to Geoffrey.
Okay, hi, I'm Geoffrey Wade. I love these things. I've directed about a half dozen of them, which I just love doing. This is the first one I've actually been an actor in, which everything worked out, but this is always a play I've always wanted to do. Never had a chance. The audition never quite got it. And a part, much like Chris, that I always wanted to do. I think Septimus's speech actually in Act 2 at the beginning, where he talks about the long walk that humanity is just one of the great speeches in all of drama. It's fantastic play. I've worked with Brendon as an actor quite a few years ago. It was when Obama was running for president. I remember that. We did As You Like It. It was terrific. I've worked with Chris, directed him, and it's just fantastic. I'm in Los Angeles, so I mean we could hardly be further apart. I'm walking around in a t-shirt. It's windy, but it's warm, and I'm just thrilled to be doing this. I love this play. And I've always wanted to do this part. And like Chris, I'm maybe even more years beyond it, but it's so great. All right. Téa, how about you?
Hey everyone, my name is Téa. My pronouns are she, her. I'm playing Thomasina in the play. I don't have I've actually never read the play until I just read the play. So it's exciting. It's such a cool world to live in. So I'm really excited to do this with you all. I've worked with Brendon. We did a show at Connecticut Rep. We just did a reading together at Westport County Playhouse, and that was fun. Yeah, I'm based in New York. I live in New Jersey. And yeah, I'm an actor. I just recently graduated from Rutgers University, Mason Gross. So that's a fun post-grad time. Yeah, that's me. I'm really excited to work with all of you. I am gonna pass it to Jennifer.
Hi, my name is Jennifer LeBlanc. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm in Oakland, California. This is my first time doing this, so that's exciting. I have worked with Brendon and Dr. Kate before. This summer we did Troilus and Cressida in Prague, which was really fun. I have seen this play before and loved it, and I love Tom Stoppard. But the only play of his that I've done before was The Real Thing. I had a good time doing that many years ago. But this is my first time with this text, and it's delightfully juicy. So I'm grateful to be here.
I think that leaves me. Right. I'm Dr. Kate Moncrief. In my day job, I'm the head of the Humanities and Arts Department at Worcester Polytechnic Institute in Worcester, Massachusetts. Very cold here in Worcester. Theatrically, I work as a dramaturg and text coach, and also as an intimacy choreographer. I specialize in Shakespeare, so my PhD's in Shakespeare. I love heightened language, anything in that world. A million years ago, I did my master's degree comps in 19th century British literature. So it's nice to be in that world, in the world of Arcadia. This is a play I have seen, that I have read, that I have taught, but I have not worked on a full production of it. So I'm really excited to be your dramaturg for this adventure tonight. I've worked with both Jen and Brendon. Jen, as she mentioned, on Troilus and Cressida. Brendon and I have shared many projects together, lots of Shakespeare.
And one thing I should mention that Dr. Kate and Jennifer didn't mention was it was an all-women Troilus and Cressida. So it was pretty exciting, and was my first time working on that. Also a dense and naughty, in all senses of the word, play, like Arcadia in many ways. And I've never I directed this play my first year when I worked at Washington College, a small liberal arts school in Maryland, which is where Dr. Kate and I met. But we did not work together on that. But that was my only time working on this play. It's been in my brains for years. Real Thing was the first one that I read, Jennifer, and I was blown away. I got to work on an acting class in college, and then I just was ravenous for all of Stoppard's plays after that. And I did get to play Claudius in Rosencrantz and Guildenstern in college, which was fun because I actually had already played Claudius in the OG version, and that was a lot of fun to be able to wrap my head around his world. But I just also want to just say another shout out to Nathan for doing this. It's been a second since I've done one of these, and I think as it's always a fun challenge to do theater at any time in history, but we're also in a moment where, you know, budgets seem to be tight and time is tight and precious resources. And I think to have something like this that gets to go out into the world, that is pure process and reminds people of the importance of that, I think I can't say enough about the value of that and the brainchild of Nathan's. And I think it says something that's been going on as long as it has, and the amount of artists that want to be involved is pretty incredible. So and I'm glad that Nathan mentioned about the comments, because something I'm excited about that I remembered when he mentioned that was the feedback that can come from those watching these, that sometimes we get to then address in a future session. So that's, you know, fingers crossed on that I think would be great. So I just want to share that with anyone who is watching these, and please don't be shy about putting things, comments, questions in the comments, and we could hopefully get to them before all of this is over. For those, since all of you have worked with me, but I think you know, I don't mind it. I think it's worth saying, as Nathan said, all about collaboration. I feel the same. Table work is very important to me, and I like to think of this tonight, and and over the next couple of weeks is sort of our first dates together on this play. And I think to me that it would reflect if we were sitting around an actual table rather than our virtual one, of just taking time line by line and talking about the play, about the characters. And sort of I like to think of table work, to me, in the most robust way, is the macro and the micro. That on the micro level, that to give ourselves permission to go line by line and beat by beat for everyone, not just the people saying the text, but those receiving it, and even those who are not in the same scene. But to, you know, inevitably things bubble to the surface, right? Connections are made that surprise us. That's why I think it's important for me not to doing table work with those people just in the scene, but those initial rehearsals to involve everyone, because then everyone gets to contribute, to say, oh my gosh, I didn't realize this actually is brought up again. And especially with Stoppard, right? He's all about echoes, always about concentric circles. So I think that's important on the micro. And on the macro, hopefully we can also, even though we're just working on two scenes, what are those big picture ideas that come out to us, that as we start to reflect between the sessions as well? I hope we can take time at the beginning of every subsequent session to take a moment to say, in our busy lives, did anything pop up from last week, you know, that you've been thinking about, or whether it's something in your scene or the other scene, that can we talk about discovering what the tone might be, or the big ideas, a theme that might be developing. That's why I was excited when Nathan and I talked about this, of doing two really different scenes, both linked by Septimus, but I think present fun challenges in their own way, but also hopefully finding ways to make connections. Any thoughts from the group on that in terms of the that approach, in terms of looking at the boots on the ground versus the the drone's eye view? How do we feel about that? Yeah.
It's great. I mean, I when I try to describe what these things are to other people, I say it's like getting 8 glorious hours of table work instead of the 20 minutes you might, or even a generous hour would be great. But this kind of deep dive into a quite small section of the script it's wonderful. It's just wonderful.
And it's a chance for us to give ourselves, my favorite words in any rehearsal process are "I don't know," right? And I think that one of the things I love about this play is how much the characters get wrong as much as they get right. And to me, that's why it's still worth studying, because the longer the play goes on, the audience is in this God's eye view, right, of being privileged to go, oh no, Hannah, Bernard, you're so off base on all these things, because we got to see what really happened. So that's the other thing I would just offer, is that, like, to state the obvious, but it's important that we're all coming to this with fresh eyes. The great thing is, what I'm so jealous about, Téa, when you said that this was your first time reading it, I had this pang of, God, I wish that could have been me, to have that first experience with this. But whether it's our first time with the play or we've seen it a bunch of times, I just think there's something valuable in also sharing when we're not sure about something, or what this reference means, or what we're even doing in this moment. So I just think it's worth shining a light on that, to say none of this is a test or to show off. Where I'd like us to have, even in the time we've got, this a space for each other to offer ideas, but also to say, I don't know, let's phone a friend, right? Let's open it up to the group. If we're all good for that, that's an approach I'd love to take with these hours. I'd like to read both scenes, kind of back to back, and then circle back and start to break them down. But I would still love to start by asking, what are some initial impressions on these? Let's just talking about, let's say, these particular scenes, but the play in general, but to be a little specific to these. Anything that's jumped out at you, first observations coming into tonight?
Well, I'll just pick up on what you said about the characters getting it wrong. That's part of the actual humor, what actually makes the audience laugh, and it's part of what makes the play so delightful. I mean, he's dealing with, the characters, Stoppard is dealing with these incredibly complex ideas, difficult things that it's this thrilling time in history, the Age of Enlightenment, and all this stuff that's going on. It's actually not unlike where we are right now. I mean, there's really interesting things happening, and so the even people who think they know everything, and I one of the great pleasures of Septimus at the beginning is I think he's, a 22-year-old who kind of thinks he knows everything, and almost immediately finds out that he doesn't. And he's dealing with this wonderful child who, now we're getting into it, but I think even from the start, he knows that she's clearly unusual and spectacularly intelligent, but right away she's bringing up things that he can't quite understand, and at the same time he gets caught out in a very simple lie. I mean, it's just I just love that stuff. I really do, and it's very hard to follow. I know people have seen the play and said, it's so complicated, I can't follow it, but that's also part of the fun, I think, of when you see a play. You sort of let yourself swim in it. Maybe you don't understand it, and you'll understand on the drive home or in the shower or 3 days later. That's great stuff.
Yeah, Other thoughts?
I was thinking just about like um Thomasina in general, just like the the genius of her being like this young woman, like growing into herself and her thoughts, but also with this like brilliant mind, like all of these mathematical thoughts and these like all this structured stuff, but it's also like, so like what is that in like such like a childlike way. It's so I loved the just the childlike wonder mixed with the super advanced brain mechanisms that she has. So that was just so interesting to me of just the writing of that, because it seemed very like this and then just like kind of thinking, but then also this and then thinking, and like I think I operate in that kind of way as well. So I was like, I was reading and I was like, oh, like Brendon really knows me. Like, he really like it's just very, I really operate in that kind of like all over the place, but like deep down I'm grounded in what I do know. So yeah, I really connect to her. I'm excited to explore what else. Being it's my first time with the text, I'm sure I'll discover more things. But for right now, yeah, just it's wonderful.
Well, Tay, if I may just really quick pick up on that word of wonder, and I think that's something we could all explore because I think I think every play has traps, and I think for me, one of the traps of any Stoppard play, a little like doing a Shaw or Noel Coward play, is characters who just know it all or want to seem like that for 2.5 hours.
Mm.
And like that can be fun and scintillating for a bit, and then it can feel, to me, it can start to grate. And I feel like, where's the wonder, like you said, where's the discoveries and the taking a plunge and then pivoting and trying again. And I think it's Thomasina really embodies it. But I would say that I think that can happen throughout. To me, what makes these characters really fascinating and frankly really sexy is is how they think and how they are thinking out loud in front of each other, which inspires or pisses somebody off or whatever. But they are, I would encourage us all to have that small flashlight so that we can keep stumbling upon big and small discoveries and let ourselves, we can go vacillate between, like you said, Jeff, between cockiness and wonder, or uh, uh, you know, uh, ignorance, or being befuddlement, right, or any of those things. To me, then that adding those bumps in the road helps push back against these characters feeling a little like Teflon, if you know what I mean. That there's just sort of, they've got it all figured out, and I think that also to me makes things more playable beat to beat if we're not making them these superhuman thought machines, if that makes sense. So anyway, just wanted to pick up on that for a second. Chris, Kate, Jennifer, thoughts?
Well, I was just thinking actually about how in the choosing of the two scenes, what you were saying about how it can be super grating to listen to people who are always, over everyone else, smarter than everyone else in the room. If there's 5 people and they're all smarter than each other, that's can be awful to watch. But in the 2 scenes you've picked, there's the one where Septimus is in his very confident, cocky sort of role, and then in the second scene, he's a little, a little more on his heels and a little more contrite in some ways and unsure. So it's interesting to see those 2 sides of this one character in the 2 scenes.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for picking up on that. That was kind of part of the point of why I chose them, was to see what is it like to have 2 people playing him and to see these very different sides. And so, like, going off of what you're saying, Chris, like what I would suggest is when they are when a character seems to me like mostly X in a scene, where can we find Y?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So in your scene, Chris, where can we find those moments of, okay, I've got this, before the rug gets pulled out again? And I think, Jeff, the same opposite for you, of like, where when can he be at sea, and how often can we put those moments so that we can just keep finding opposites. But yeah, I love that. Jennifer, Kate, any thoughts off the bat?
Well, just I love the scenes, and piggybacking on what other people said, there's also like a joyfulness of like there's a smugness, a smug opener on a character that I think is really fun, because in almost any scene where your character is like, I've got the upper hand, you can bet that within 30 seconds someone else comes in with information of, I was incorrect. And so like I think there's something fun about the peak of like, well, I have this, and no, I was wrong. And I especially like it just as a theme in the overall play, watching the scholars looking back at history, smugly thinking that they can interpret it because they know so much, and forgetting that humans are gonna human. And that they're forgetting the human factor because they've read so much about these people and they know so much. And then they get everything wrong because they're forgetting the humanness. Is sort of a fun theme going on.
Well, Jennifer, I think, and Nathan's listening, I know in the back of the theater, I really hope that we start making t-shirts, and that will be Arcadia on one side and humans are going to human on the other, because I literally think you have nailed now for this play, wherever it's done, that it is it's just like so spot on. But yeah, it's true. It's like Stoppard sets us up to take us down. And I think, but you're right, both are important, right? To feel like, okay, I have this moment of certainty in both acts, both worlds of the play, where people feel like they need, and there's something for us to explore too. I hadn't really thought of it this way until you just said that, Jennifer. But like, you also could argue that many of Stoppard's characters are control freaks, right? That when no matter of their age or wherever, they want to like get a grip on, like, when everything else might be chaotic in their love life, or them, or Thomasina and her parents, or whatever, this sense of, well, I know this, and this gives me a handhold in the cliff face. And so it's, that to me is exciting more than just an intellectual need to know something, but actually like, I need this for my soul. I need this for my psyche. And so then when I lose that grip, it becomes terrifying and exciting and in free fall, and not just like, oh, okay, well, it's a math problem, I think, which is another trap of Stoppard. It's like, how do we keep the heart, the guts, the groin, all of the chakras in play, and not just brains floating on stage? Because that goes off what you're saying, Jennifer. I mean, the humanity is making sure they're all, operating on all those levels, that, and not just like the witty banter and let's talk about Fermat's last theorem, but why? Like, what am I getting out of this, like, here, and not just here? And how is my relationship with this person now different because we talked about that? So that keeps Stoppard from just staying in the ether, and keeps him also tethered to our bodies in a way.
Brendon, I think the play does both of those things. It's one of the things that I think many of us really love so much about Stoppard, the intellect that is at work there, and the control of the form. The in lesser hands, this play would be a hot mess, right? But it goes beyond being clever, but the intellectual control, the deep understanding of these subjects, but the play never only stays intellectual, right? He's given us these really full human beings in the midst of these incredibly complex ideas. The choice of setting, I think, Geoffrey, you said it at the beginning, the time period where there were many, I think people thought the world was like full of change and full of excitement. And I like your thinking about it now, the technological change, the artistic change, the sort of the idea that the world was expansive. There was so much happening in this moment in history, and Stoppard sort of captures that weaves it together brilliantly, but has these people in the middle of it, because nobody in this moment woke up and went, oh, today is the Industrial Revolution, right? They were living their lives. You know, the things were happening. They were falling in love. They were making mistakes. They were, you know, shooting grouse or whatever. While we look back on it as scholars and as somebody who spent a lot of time in the archives and in manuscripts, it's just very interesting because you're making these assumptions about things in the past, but it's really, really hard to recover lived history. You know, what were people's lives actually like? So I think the imagination that's at work in this play, that both has a deep understanding of the time period and the intellectual concepts, the scientific concepts, but the deep humanity that is the beating heart of the play for me.
And I need to give a shout out to the great work that Dr. Kate did on this dramaturgy packet. So I hope you have your hymnals at the ready. Yes, Chris,
Thank you.
love
Thank
it.
you for that.
Yeah.
Teeny tiny little thing for our scenes. Scholars got a scholar, man. I had to send you some stuff in advance.
You know, and we'll and as things come up that are not necessarily in the packet, like we've done in past rehearsal rooms, you know, Kate's up for doing you know, Googling things away, and you know, whether it's for our this each session, or maybe we'll come, you know, she'll come back with something in the next session or something, but not the be all and end all, obviously, but like I think it's an opportunity for us. I have mine pulled up as well, so you know, as a good place to start in terms of references. How do we feel about doing a little reading? Can we jump in? For now, if you'll bear with me, I'll read in for JELLABY, and why don't we, and I'll read some of the stage directions, but how about we just take it from the few lines before Thomasina's first line. I'll start with Septimus has a tortoise. Do we see where we are when we're ready? Yes. Are we good, Jeff?
Yeah. So where are we starting? We're starting with.
I was just going to start with the Septimus as a tortoise, which is sleepy enough to serve as a
Oh,
paperweight,
okay, great,
just
great.
to
Stage
lead you
yes.
both in. Yeah.
Excellent.
And then I'll jump in with JELLABY. Septimus has a tortoise, which is sleepy enough to serve as a paperweight. Elsewhere on the table, there's an old-fashioned theodolite and also some other books stacked up.
Septimus, what is carnal embrace?
Carnal embrace is the practice of throwing one's arms around a side of beef.
Is that all?
No, shoulder of mutton, haunch of venison, well hugged, an embrace of grouse. Carno carnis, feminine, flesh.
Is it a sin?
Not necessarily, my lady, but when carnal embrace is sinful, it is a sin of the flesh, QED. We had Caro in our Gallic wars. The Britons live on milk and meat. Lacte et carne vivunt. I am sorry that the seed fell on stony ground.
That was the sin of Onan, wasn't it, Septimus?
Yes. He was giving his brother's wife a Latin lesson, and she was hardly the wiser after it than before. I thought you were finding a proof for Fermat's last theorem.
It is very difficult, Septimus. You will have to show me how.
If I knew how, there'd be no need to ask you. Fermat's last theorem has kept people busy for 150 years, and I hoped it would keep you busy long enough for me to read Mr. Chater's poem in praise of love with only the distraction of its own absurdities.
Our Mr. Chater has written a poem.
He believes he's written a poem, yes. I can see that there might be more carnality in your algebra than in Mr. Chater's couch of Eros.
Oh, it was not my algebra.
Oh.
I heard JELLABY telling Cook that Mrs. Chater was discovered in carnal embrace in the gazebo.
Really? With whom, did JELLABY happen to say?
What do you mean, with whom?
With what? Exactly so. The idea is absurd. Where did that story come from?
Mr. Noakes.
Mr. Noakes?
Papa's landscape gardener. He was taking bearings in the garden when he saw, through his spyglass, Mrs. Chater in the gazebo in carnal embrace.
And you mean to tell me that Mr. Noakes told the butler?
No, Mr. Noakes told Mr. Chater. JELLABY was told by the groom who overheard Mr. Noakes telling Mr. Chater in the stable yard.
Mr. Chater being engaged in closing the stable door.
What do you mean, Septimus?
So, thus far, the only people who know about this are Mr. Noakes, the landscape architect, the groom, the butler, the cook, and of course, Mrs. Chater, husband, the poet.
And Arthur, who was cleaning the silver, and the boot boy. And now you.
Of course. What else did he say?
Mr. Noakes?
No, not Mr. Noakes. JELLABY. You heard JELLABY telling the cook.
Cook hushed him almost as soon as he started. JELLABY did not see that I was being allowed to finish yesterday's upstairs rabbit pie before I came to my lesson. I think you have not been candid with me, Septimus. A gazebo is not, after all, a meat larder.
I never said my definition was complete.
Is carnal embrace kissing?
Yes.
And throwing one's arm around Mrs. Chater?
Yes. Now, Fermat's last theorem.
I thought as much. I hope you are ashamed.
Aye, milady.
If you do not teach me the true meaning of things, who will?
Ah. Yes, I am ashamed. Carnal embrace is sexual congress, which is the insertion of the male genital organ into the female genital organ for purposes of procreation and pleasure. Fermat's last theorem, by contrast, asserts that when x, y, and z are whole numbers, each raised to the power of n, the sum of the first two can never equal the third when n is greater than 2.
Ugh!
And nevertheless, that is the theorem.
It is disgusting and incomprehensible. Now, when I am grown to practice it myself, I shall never do so without thinking of you.
Thank you very much, milady. Was Mrs. Chater down this morning?
No. Tell me more about sexual congress.
There is nothing more to be said about sexual congress.
Is it the same as love?
Oh, no, it's much nicer than that.
One of the side doors leads to the music room. It is the other side door which now opens to admit JELLABY, the butler.
I am teaching JELLABY.
Beg your pardon, Mr. Hodge. Mr. Chater said it was urgent you receive his letter.
Oh, very well. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Chater asked me to bring him your answer.
My answer.
He opens the letter. There's no envelope as such, but there is a cover which, folded and sealed, does the same service. Septimus tosses the cover negligently aside and reads.
Well, my answer is that, as is my custom and my duty to his lordship, I am engaged until 11:45 in the education of his daughter. When I am done, and if Mr. Chater is still there, I will be happy to wait upon him in the gun room.
I will tell him so. Thank you, sir.
What is for dinner, JELLABY?
Boiled ham and cabbages, my lady, and a rice pudding.
Oh, goody.
Well, so much for Mr. Noakes. He puts himself forward as a gentleman, a philosopher of the picturesque, a visionary who can move mountains and cause lakes, but in the scheme of the garden, he is as the serpent.
When you stir your rice pudding, Septimus, the spoonful of jam spreads itself round, making red trails like the picture of a meteor in my astronomical atlas. But if you stir backward, the jam will not come together again. Indeed, the pudding does not notice and continues to turn pink just as before. Do you think this is odd?
No.
Well, I do. You cannot stir things apart.
No more you can. Time must needs run backward. And since it will not, we must stir our way onward, mixing as we go. Disorder out of disorder, into disorder, until pink is complete, unchanging and unchangeable. And we are done with it forever. This is known as free will or self-determination.
He picks up the tortoise and moves it a few inches as though it had strayed on top of some loose papers and admonishes it.
Sit.
Septimus, do you think God is a Newtonian?
An Etonian, almost certainly, I'm afraid. We must ask your brother to make it his first inquiry.
No, Septimus, a Newtonian.
Ah,
Septimus, am I the first person to have thought of this?
no.
I have not said yet.
If everything from the furthest planet to the smallest atom of our brain acts according to Newton's law of motion, what becomes of free will?
No,
God's will.
no,
Sin?
no.
Very well.
If you could stop every atom in its position and direction, and if your mind could comprehend all of the actions thus suspended, then if you were really, really good at algebra, you could write the formula for all the future. And although nobody can be so clever as to do it, the formula must exist, just as if one could.
Yes. Yes, as far as I know, you are the first person to have thought of this. In the margin of his copy of Arithmetica, Fermat wrote that he had discovered a wonderful proof of his theorem, but the margin being too narrow for his purpose, did not have room to write it down. The note was found after his death, and from that day to this...
Oh, I see now the answer is perfectly obvious.
This time you may have overreached yourself.
Great, let's hold there. Oh my gosh, it's so great.
It's so good.
It's so good already, isn't it?
Wow. There's so this a big question for the group right off the bat. How do we feel about exploring any of this at any point with dialects? I'm not saying we should or we shouldn't, but I offer that up to see, and maybe we might try it for a session and maybe let it go, but it's just something as I was listening and thinking about, there's also an approach to just letting it be sort of a heightened speech. Again, this is not for a production, so we're not, we don't have a text or dialect coach on payroll. Waiting to jump in, but I wanted to flag that just to see if we had initial thoughts on that.
It's not for production. However, I think that it being written for what we would consider a dialect, like its rhythms are impacted by how we are pronouncing and the rhythms that we're using, and like in the most sweeping term of as Americans we go down and Brits go up. In certain places, it's going to change the rhythm of the play in a certain way. Maybe not in a bad way. Like maybe there's something to explore. But to me, I think it's important to do this particular work with a dialect. Doesn't have to be perfect, but with some of it. And Geoffrey was doing some flavor of dialect in that. But that's my opinion about it.
Other thoughts? Yeah, Téa, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Like as I was reading it with Geoffrey, I was like, yeah. I think that lends more, like just like what Chris was saying, I think that lends more to the character as well. Just kind of like, that. Like I just feel like it would work. So, well, obviously it does. It was written that way. So yeah. So yeah.
I mean, if we're up for trying it, the thing I would just offer is while we're trying to also figure out what literally are we saying, the danger can be that we all know is sometimes the dialect starts to play us, and that we can fall into a flow that went, oh, that was great. What did I just say? It sounded beautiful. And so what I would encourage, if we want to try the dialect at any point, that also give ourselves permission to stop and say, I'm just going to say this me right now for a second, no dialect, just to kind of make sure that you keep grounding, right? Because I'm the last thing I want is for us to start playing a style or a sound. And so I'm just offering that as a yes and to throw that out.
That makes perfect sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
Jennifer, are you good? I think I saw the thumbs up.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, what I would like to, can I, as tempting as it is to dive into that scene, I would love to move to the next scene and let's read that as well so that we can just see, especially those who have been listening to one and then hear the other, just what are some things we pull out of that. So if that's okay with Chris and Jennifer,
Sure.
and I need to pull up okay. So again, I'll read JELLABY and stage directions from the top. Is that okay? Scene 6, the
Almost
room is
there.
empty.
Sorry,
Sorry?
one moment. Sorry, just
Okay.
finding the page.
Yeah, can I ask what page that is?
All right.
71.
71.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kate.
Okay.
Scene 6, the room is empty. A reprise. Early morning, a distant pistol shot, the sound of the crows. JELLABY enters the dawn-dark room with a lamp. He goes to the windows and looks out. He sees something. He returns to put the lamp on the table and then opens one of the French windows and steps outside. Mr. Hodge! Septimus comes in, followed by JELLABY, who closes the garden door. Septimus is wearing a greatcoat.
Thank you, JELLABY. I was expecting to be locked out. What time is it?
5:30.
That is what I have. Well, what a bracing experience.
He produces 2 pistols from inside his coat and places them on the table.
It's dawn, you know, unexpectedly lively. Fishes, birds, frogs, rabbits.
He produces a dead rabbit from inside his coat.
Very beautiful. If only it did not occur so early in the day. I have brought Lady Thomasina a rabbit. Will you take it?
It's dead.
Yes. Lady Thomasina loves a rabbit pie.
JELLABY takes the rabbit without hesitation. There is a little blood on it. You were missed, Mr. Hodge.
I decided to sleep last night in the boathouse. Did I see a carriage leaving the park?
Captain Bryce's carriage with Mr. and Mrs. Chater also.
Gone?
Yes, sir. And Lord Byron's horse was brought around at 4 o'clock.
Lord Byron, too.
Yes, sir. The house has been up and hopping.
But I have his rabbit pistols. What am I to do with his rabbit pistols?
You were looked for in your room.
By whom?
By her ladyship.
In my room.
I will tell her ladyship you are returned.
JELLABY, did Lord Byron leave a book for me?
A book?
He had the loan of a book from me.
His lordship left nothing in his room, sir, not a coin.
Oh. Well, I'm sure he would have left a coin if he'd had one. JELLABY, here's half a guinea for you.
Thank you very much, sir.
What has occurred?
The servants are told nothing, sir.
Can't just have a guinea buy nothing anymore?
Her ladyship encountered Mrs. Chater during the night.
Where?
On the threshold of Lord Byron's room.
Which one was leaving and which entering?
Mrs. Chater was leaving Lord Byron's room.
And where was Mr. Chater?
Mr. Chater and Captain Bryce were drinking cherry brandy. They had the footman to keep the fire up until 3 o'clock. There was a loud altercation upstairs and...
Well, Mr. Hodge,
My lady,
all this to shoot a hare?
a rabbit. No, indeed, a hare, though very rabbit-like.
My infusion.
Yes, my lady. He leaves. Lady CROOM is carrying 2 letters. We have not seen her before. Each has an envelope which has been opened. She flings them on the table.
How dare you?
I cannot be called to account for what was written in private and read without regard to propriety.
Addressed to me?
Left in my room in the event of my death.
Pah! What earthly use is a love letter from beyond the grave?
As much, surely, as from this side of it. The second letter, however, was not addressed to your ladyship.
I have a mother's right to open a letter addressed by you to my daughter, whether in the event of your life, your death, or your imbecility. What do you mean by writing to her of rice pudding when she has been suffering the shock of violent death in our midst?
Whose death?
Yours, you wretch!
Yes, I see.
I do not know which is the matter of your ravings. One envelope full of rice pudding, the other of the most insolent familiarities regarding several parts of my body, but have no doubt which is the more intolerable to me.
Which?
Oh, aren't we saucy when our bags are packed? Your friend has gone before you, and I have dispatched the harlot Chaytor and her husband, and also my brother for bringing them here. Such is the sentence, you see, for choosing unwisely in your acquaintance. Banishment. Lord Byron is a rake and a hypocrite, and the sooner he sails for the Levant, the sooner he will find society congenial to his character.
Has been a night of reckoning.
Indeed, I wish it had passed uneventfully with you and Mr. Chaytor shooting each other with the decorum due to a civilized house. You have no secrets left, Mr. Hodge. They spilled out between the shrieks and oaths and tears. It is fortunate that a lifetime's devotion to the sporting gun has halved my husband's hearing to the ear he sleeps on.
Well, I'm afraid I have no knowledge of what has occurred.
Your trollop was discovered in Lord Byron's room.
Discovered by Mr. Chaytor.
Who else?
I am very sorry, madam, for having used your kindness to bring my unworthy friend to your notice. He will have to give an account of himself on me, you may be sure.
Before Lady CROOM can respond to this threat, JELLABY enters the room with her infusion. It's quite an elaborate affair, a pewter tray on small feet, which has a kettle suspended over a spirit lamp. There's a cup and saucer and the silver basket containing the dry leaves for the tea. JELLABY places the tray on the table and is about to offer further assistance with it.
I will do it.
Yes, my lady. Lord Byron left a letter for you with the valet, sir.
Thank you.
When did he do so?
As he was leaving, your ladyship. Septimus puts the letter into his pocket.
Allow me.
Since she does not object, he pours a cup of tea for her. She accepts it.
I do not know if it's proper for you to receive a letter written in my house from someone not welcome in it.
Very improper, I agree. Lord Byron's want of delicacy is a grief to his friends, among whom I no longer count myself. I will not read his letter until I have followed him through the gates.
That may excuse the reading, but not the writing.
Your ladyship should have lived in the Athens of Pericles. The philosophers would have fought the sculptors for your idle hour.
Really? Oh. Really?
Septimus has taken Byron's letter from his pocket and is now setting fire to a corner of it.
Oh. Really?
The paper blazes in his hand. He drops it and lets it burn on the metal tray.
Now there's a thing. A letter from Lord Byron, never to be read by a living soul. I will take my leave, madam, at the time of your desiring it.
To the Indies?
The Indies? Why?
To follow the Chaytor, of course. She did not tell you.
Did not exchange half a dozen words with me.
I expect she did not like to waste the time. The Chaytor sails with Captain Bryce.
As a member of the crew?
No. As wife to Mr. Chaytor, plant gatherer to my brother's expedition.
Oh, I knew he was no poet. I did not know it was botany under his false colours.
He is no more a botanist. My brother paid £50 to have him published, and we will pay £150 to have Mr. Chaytor picking flowers in the Indies for a year, while his wife plays mistress in the captain's quarters. Captain Bryce has fixed his passion on Mrs. Chaytor, and to take her on voyage he has not scrupled to deceive the Admiralty, the Linnean Society, Sir Joseph Banks, botanist to His Majesty at Kew.
Her passion is not as fixed as his.
It is a defect of God's humour that he directs our hearts everywhere but to whom they have a right to.
Indeed, madam. But is Mr. Chaytor deceived?
He insists on it, and finds the proof of his wife's virtue in his eagerness to defend it. Captain Bryce is not deceived, but cannot help himself. He would die for her.
I think, my lady, he would have Mr. Chaytor die for her.
Indeed, I never knew a woman worth the duel. Or the other way about. Your letter to me goes very ill with your conduct to Mrs. Chaytor, Mr. Hodge. I have had the experience of being betrayed before the ink was dry. but to be betrayed before the pen is even dipped, and with the village notice board. What am I to think of such a performance?
Lady, I was alone with my thoughts in the gazebo when Mrs. Chater ran me to ground. And I, being in such a passion, in an agony of unrelieved desire,
Oh.
I thought in my madness that the Chater with her skirts over her head would give me the momentary illusion of the happiness to which I had dared not put a face.
I do not know when I have received a more unusual compliment, Mr. Hodge. I hope I am more than a match for Mrs. Chater with her head in a bucket. Does she wear drawers?
She does.
Yes, I have heard that drawers are being worn now. It is unnatural for women to be got up like jockeys. I cannot approve. I know nothing of Pericles or the Athenian philosophers. I can spare them an hour in my sitting room when I've bathed. 7 o'clock. Bring a book.
She goes out. Septimus picks up the 2 letters, the ones he wrote, and starts to burn them in the flame of the spirit lamp. Whew. I think anyone who says ever that Tom Stoppard cannot write a sex scene,
So
Exhibit A.
He
I
writes,
want to vote
he
in for
writes
the
them all the
t-shirt.
time.
For the t-shirt of this, I wanted to say Tom Stoppard, all the chakras.
Yep. So what jumped out at us? So hearing those back to back, I think that was fascinating.
It's so much hotter out loud than it is on the page.
Like Shakespeare.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What else?
I think well, in the first scene, Septimus isn't dishonest per se, but he's playing a part for Thomasina, right? He has to be her tutor. She's 13. She's asking about things that he doesn't necessarily want to tell a 13-year-old. In this, he's much more unguarded and honest. I think he's being as honest as he could ever be about anything. He doesn't have he's not being terribly glib or clever, although he does say some clever things because he's a smart guy. But I think there's an honesty to him in this that isn't necessarily part of the first scene.
I like to see it as, I mean, yes, it's honesty, but it's he's dealing with different women. I think he's taking, I mean, it's a quibble, but to my Septimus's mind, he's taking care of her. He's taking care around her, right? But this woman who's, grown up, a woman, knows what he's dealing with. He can be much more straightforward in these wonderful, that thing about the philosophers, and sculptors would battle each other for your spare hour. What an incredible thing to say to somebody.
Well, but also, Jeff, isn't it knowing your audience?
Well, yes, exactly.
Because that would not fly with. I mean, Mrs. Chater would be like, "I'm sorry, what?"
Yes,
right?
exactly. I mean,
so it's like that. To me, wit is also about, you have to know your audience. You have to know what target you're hitting.
Yeah.
And that's why they joke, but also he's being honest about, look, I don't think we talked much. Did we ever? It was a hookup.
Yeah.
That's not what that is. Chater is all about only that. And she's not turned on by Pericles of Athens, all of that, but
exactly. And that's why we see this scene, because this is a sex scene. That whatever happens in the gazebo is just sex. This is like, is mutual seduction.
Just puts it like, I was out there thinking, and then this came to me and I thought, okay, well,
Yeah. What did we say? She's renowned for being able to grow orchids in her nether parts. She's just a permanent state of arousal.
Right.
It's a great stuff.
Well, and the fact that like I mean, at least I don't know if you agree, Chris, but what I was hearing that time was that like I was alone with my thoughts about you. And there it was. So she was a proxy. You know what I mean? It was like we used each other. She and I mean, she, you know, at least I think this was mutual, that you and Mrs. Chater like had a need, but what Mrs. Chater was not aware of was that she was a stand-in. And that I love that Jennifer picks up on that, right? The Lady CROOM sort of like he's being so honest there, and which could have totally backfired on you, where she could have been like, that's really rude and crude, and I don't think you should talk about a woman like that. And like, this is the danger also at any moment between the two of you, I think is important to acknowledge that how many ways this could go wrong. Just like I think, Jeff, you and Téa, this could also go so wrong at any moment. So one thing I noticed was a tightrope in both scenes.
Yeah.
Just different tightropes, but like otherwise the danger, that's another thing we have to watch out for with Stoppard, is that like, where's the actual danger? Where's the risk? And like, without that, the pulse goes down, right? So I think it's exciting to see both Septimuses have to navigate that, and like, you know, and to not know how it's going to go, because, you know, I think, Jeff, you don't know, THOMASINA this might be the day that you traumatize her, you know? and because, you know, if we think, oh, you can take it, oh, you're fine, you're precocious, then to me that's getting ahead of the game, right? Yes. But like, it's like, and also, how much is she going to ask? Maybe I can just say one thing about beef and she'll be good.
Yeah,
right.
But she's too smart, isn't she? Yeah,
right. And she's like, go on, more. Oh shit.
I mean, well, she catches him up in an inconsistency.
Yes,
she's
listening.
Smart. Yeah, she's actually listening.
That's the other thing. All of these characters are not only super smart, but their antennae are out, right? They are picking up on every single thing, sometimes to your chagrin, right? Yeah. It's like, I didn't realize you heard that or caught that, you know. That's I think that's interesting too. Dr. Kate, any thoughts listening to both of these, and what was your takeaway on these first pass?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with the room, actually. This is such a smart group here, but the what's innuendo, what's on the surface, what's sex, and what's more intriguing than that, right? Sex is better than love, and this flirtation might be even better than that, you know, like where the characters are picking up on. I want to say there's a lot of nuance to this and to relationships.
Yeah, it's interesting, right, that Kate, that we don't see Septimus with Chater at the gazebo. We also don't see Lady CROOM and Septimus together. It's not just, I think, the Stoppard's like, oh, I want to keep it all in one room. It's like, I mean, they could have jumped each other right here too. They, you know, could have been a Tregor and ARCADIA moment or something too, right? But instead, it is so much about the buildup and the nuance of, and letting the audience ... right? That it's so much about pushing the envelope of, well, I'm going to go here with my innuendo. Are you going to match me, or did I overstep?
Yeah.
Well,
and you don't know.
That intellectual like pursuit is sexy, right? That, I mean, it's hot that they're on the same intellectual level.
100%.
Yeah.
That's why those are always the best scenes. I mean, once they're in the bed, then it's nothing. Then it's cinematography. This is what's hot. This is the you know, I think.
And it's fascinating too that the curiosity to me is in both scenes, right? There's curiosity about ideas about what sex, math, relationships are, and I think there's that struck me, and the idea of satiating another person's curiosity is also really, really interesting and potentially erotic, but also like satisfying. This sense of, I wonder, Téa, about this idea of like her need to know, like you said, the wonder, and coupling that with her curiosity of the yes, and what about this? And like something, I know we're all in these boxes here, but something I think for us all to keep exploring is what is happening to them kinesthetically, right? And we can even in Zoom, there's a difference. Like I was noticing when you had the opportunity, when you looked away, right? Versus when you were engaging, and what is it like to be struck by something before you come back with your new question, right? And obviously we're on book and everything, but it's just something for us to chew on when we circle back to the first scene of what is it like Thomasina to, I feel like part of to capture her precociousness, her genius, is that it takes her over. Maybe this sense of like, it's goes back to this kinesthetic sense of the sponge needing more. But then what about that? And that like getting into it with that full sense of herself that also allows us to capture her age a little, where another young woman or young boy of their age might be, geeking out over toy soldiers, dolls, going out to play, whatever. For her, she's like, this is like the best thing ever, right? Like rice pudding and Fermat is exactly the same level of geeking out. Like there's no difference. And that to me also could bring forth the 13-year-old,
I
Yeah.
also love, oh, sorry, Téa, go
No,
ahead.
go, Jennifer. I'm so sorry. Go ahead. I was thinking about that. I was like, as we were going through it, I found myself just kind of like at the idea of things, just like kind of just being like, oh wow, like this and this and that, like just like we were talking about. I also found it like super interesting that like obviously that's the theme of it, of this scene, but the the complex that ideas that Thomasina has, like although Septimus knows like the complexity of them, it's kind of still a push away thing of like, yeah, like you can't undo things, but we gotta keep going. We gotta keep going forward. Like she didn't just blow someone's mind with like, oh yeah, you can't undo something. That has to be something like really smart that someone has to write down because we don't know that yet. So it's like, I think just going with the idea of like, yeah, this is like my innocent idea, but also the audience and everyone else knows that like this is groundbreaking is so cool, that like you can have that like 13-year-old wonder of like, wow, this, but also with those like crazy ideas. So that was just cool to me
Yeah.
to see
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the fact that you also don't need Septimus's approval
No.
to stay with it, like whether he blows you off or not. I love that Thomas. Like, yeah, I'm still on this. You know what I mean? I'm not letting
Yeah.
go of that. And you can blow me off all you want, but like that to me is also exciting, right? That she's
Yeah.
like, yeah, no, I know I'm onto something.
Yeah.
So she can be running that hard drive, and if he's in it with you, great. But if he's talking about some BS, whatever stuff,
Yeah. I'm still
that
in it.
is,
Yeah, that
yeah,
doesn't change.
it doesn't sort of make you go, oh, well, if Septimus isn't into it, I guess it's nothing, which is again another reason why she is like 1 in 100 year person, because she's like, I know deep down, I
Yeah.
don't know fully, but I know, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna just like dog with a bone.
And it seems to me the interesting thing about the arc of the scene, because it kind of finishes at this point, is when he can't blow her off anymore. Not blowing her off, but
Yeah.
she's supposed to be studying. I'm doing my own thing. Her sort of I think it's a sort of joyful persistence. You were talking, Téa, about how each new thing sort of excites you more. But that final thing she gets to, which is, the theory of everything, sort of, there should be a simple mathematic formula for everything, right?
Mm.
And Stoppard's written in those two big pauses. It's like, yes, Jesus, yes. And then it's sort of even too much for him to handle. And so he moves onward. But I think that's again that kind of the fun of the player thing, because even at that point you can see him sort of get knocked just a little bit off. His metronome is just bumped a little bit there. Yeah,
And
I think he already thinks, as I said, well before the scene starts, that she's a special young woman. But when she comes up with something like that, it's like, Jesus, I never thought of that, and I'm really smart.
yeah, and it sets and that brings up the question of we always have to ask ourselves why today, right? What's different about today? So that she can be super smart, but then today also just starting off with, oh shoot, she's asking about carnal embrace.
Yeah.
How old is she again? When was her last birthday? You know,
and do I have to be the one to give her the talk? Is that what's going on here? I'm gonna be the one? No.
I was thinking about, I was being a nerdy dramaturg here, trying to scroll through on the page and find the exact quote. But I think in the contemporary timeline, Hannah says something like, "It's wanting to know, or the wanting to know, that makes us matter." And that idea of wanting to know is just at the heart of this, right? It's intellectual, it's curiosity, it's about sex. The term knowing has a lot of resonances. So that I think it's really at the heart of what he's asking. It's the wanting to know, that curiosity that drives us as humans, desire.
But I love the detail that on the night before, like his farewell letters, before he goes to a duel, he's got two things he needs to write down. One is a seemingly detailed seduction letter, and the other is rice pudding. Like, I'm still thinking about that conversation, and that those are the two things he needs to clear up in case the duel doesn't go well. Like, those are the two, that sets everything up for him, and he's good to go. It's such an interesting character thing of like, everything else seems resolved, but these are the two things before I go that I really need to put onto paper.
Aren't they both connected too by hunger? If you think, like, yeah.
Yeah, but this is what Kate, what you were just saying, it suddenly made me think, oh yeah, Thomasina is, because she's a girl, that's important. It's all the mind. She wants to know about these things, the carnal embrace and all that, and it's confusing. And then when she hears about it, it's like, ugh, oh God, it's horrible. But so she's all the mind. But at the same time, our sort of initial introduction to Septimus is as a guy who, screws the lady of the house in the gazebo. So there's this real, and they're both wants and hungers. There's the carnal hunger and the intellectual hunger, and they're sort of equally strong, which is thrilling, right? It's so great.
Well, and the fact that too that Septimus with this letter addressed to Thomasina is so beautiful that on the night of his death he wants to continue the conversation. Right? That it's like, I've been here, I can't, like you said, Jen, I can't stop thinking about it. Here's my thoughts on your thoughts. I may not be around to keep the conversation going, but I don't think this was him saying, and maybe you think otherwise, Chris, but I don't, my instinct is that he's not saying, well, here's what it is about rice pudding. Here's just like the next part of the conversation. Or I've been thinking about the rice pudding and here's some additional thoughts. It's not the answer. It's more on, it's that she would then, she'd be inspired by that to keep going. Do you know what I mean? That it's like, it's the best kind of intellectual discourse of, based on what Dr. K. Moncrief wrote about Troilus and Cressida, I have this response. And now they have, you know what I mean? It's that feeling of, it's not like, it never ends, right? Ideally, it's not the sense of we've solved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris. Yeah.
We don't know all we know is that it's about rice pudding. Like we have no idea what he was saying to her about it. If it was, he just leaves it at, it was she says she sees it as a discussion about rice pudding, but we can imagine all sorts of things that it could have been.
Right. And the fact that, like, I love that, Jen, you're just like, well, this is just almost gibberish of like, why would you even talk to her about, and even something so what would be the point of that when she's suffering the shock of your death in the and you decide to talk again about rice pudding? It's makes no sense. And I love Chris when that hearing him say, "Wait, whose death?" And she's like, "Well, yours. Obviously, I'm gaming this out. Like, oh, a little cattail." Uh, I think that's that to me there like that jumped out at me as a moment, I think, Chris and Jennifer, where it's like the chess game of another moment when he was off-footed, right? Where Lady CROOM is like, come on, keep up,
Yeah.
right? I think that's and I feel like Thomasina it has moments like that too. I'm like, come on, Septimus, like where the scene ends, like it's so obvious. We don't get to hear why it's obvious to her, and I love at that moment. That's when Septimus is like, okay, that's a little cocky, you know, even for you. That's I think you should
It's
slow your
one of
roll.
those fun little Easter eggs too, because this theorem wasn't proved until 1994.
Right.
So she is ahead of her. She's ahead of her time. One more thought on the rice pudding moment. It's also, as smart as Lady CROOM is, that just seems like a stupid detail to her. But what Thomasina had been saying about the rice pudding, the way she was thinking about how you can't unstir it, right?
Yeah.
And at the moment of his death, when you're thinking about like, you can't undo a thing, you can't unstir a thing, and time is passing. And this moment of a duel, you can't unstir it, right? You can't go back. So I think it's really interesting that that's for me, that's where that conversation that they're having with each other and something she brought up makes sense that he might be thinking about that on his death.
Which is kind of also sad to me. That a very melancholy, the sense of how did I get here, right? This sense of like, why did it have to come to this? I mean, Jennifer, you mentioned this whole idea of I've never thought of a duel worth the woman or vice versa. And it's something to be thinking about. Chris is like, what, his state of mind as he comes in, and like the night is past, the fact that the duel didn't happen, but that he was ready for this, he had prepared himself. I mean, it also sets up beautifully for you both in the scene, the given circumstances of both of you being in these extreme emotional places, right? That Septimus can wax about, yeah, great line about, I love the early morning, if only it didn't come so early in the day, that whole thing. But also underneath, he could have just died, you know? And so it really does a nice job of setting you both up to be with one less layer of protection, right? With all the chaos going on in your house, Jennifer, and all of the to be or not to be going on with you, Chris, in the in the other in the on their side of the park. It's you both now meet in the middle of the night, which is also this wonderful liminal time, right? Then neither of you have slept. It sets you up to be in this place of, well, screw it. I'm just going to say what I feel. I mean, life's short, as this place shows us in a really awful, bittersweet way. Thomasina doesn't live past that birthday. And so this feeling of time is flying and you can't unstir things. So, you know, I will say this to you. I will tell you what I was thinking when I was with the Chater. Even if it blows up in my face, if not now, when? And what's interesting, and I think there's opportunities when we come back to that for you both, where what is it like, Jen, for you to hear, his real thought? It's one thing to read the letter, right? So that starts to have you think about him in a particular way. And then it's another to actually now see him for the first time since reading that letter. And then hear what he has to say about it. Does he disown it? Does he lean into it?
Yeah, particularly because he does catch her out on, so was she discovered leaving Lord Byron's room by Mr. Chater? Sure, that's a good story. But
Yeah.
like, she's caught. So that could be the deal breaker, but it's clear that it isn't. So it's like, okay, well,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
interesting. Like, clearly I was headed toward Lord Byron's room myself.
Yes.
And he knows that.
Yeah.
And that is not changing his opinion toward me. That's new
Right.
information.
Oh, that's great.
Like,
Yeah,
huh.
I hadn't really clocked that. Yeah, and then what I noticed too this time was when you say your behavior, how do you square your what you wrote to me versus the fact that you were with the Chater? So which is it, right? So like,
Mm-hmm,
even if I'm considering anything happening, can you explain, yeah, what's your deal in terms of us, right? Did
mm-hmm.
she get a letter like this as well? You know?
Yeah. And it does seem like it's new information, like that nothing has happened like this between the two of them before. So it's like this is just brand new information, it seems,
Yes.
you know.
And Chris, you've watched her flirt with that, the other, what is it? Is it the music teacher, right? And Byron, and it's like I love that moment when you say, about our hearts can go everywhere except those who deserve them. And you have this moment, Chris, of well, true that. And there's a right, and there's a pause there that I would encourage us to explore of like, what's that like for you, Jennifer? Of oh, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm,
is there a maybe a penny drop, a little bit of that? Septimus is waiting for. Did you hear what you just said?
mm-hmm.
Do you see me after all of these other men who have come through here, and I'm wallpaper. I'm just the tutor and I am, I'm an extension of Thomasina.
Hmm.
Do you see me as a man and as someone who wants you? And I've been here all for years, literally. It's the thing we forget is that like years pass in this play, and there's Septimus, right? And Thomasina grows, and new people come and go, and then but that I also could see why, Chris, that could do harm to you to be like, hey, remember me? And she's like, yeah, good morning. It's like time lapse photography of their Septimus just being like, still nothing, nothing, you know? Um,
But there is a measure of like he's on his way out the door in this scene too, right? He's leaving. Nothing to lose. I have no I'm going to lose my job if I say anything to the lady of the house about how I feel or any of this. So there's a measure of like fuck it too, and maybe heightened by a quasi near death experience, or at least contemplating your own mortality with the possibility of a duel and death. Like maybe there's some freedom in that to just say it finally.
Yeah,
She read
right.
So it's not that she doesn't know already.
Right, because you're right. I mean, it finally, like, you put it down in paper. Talk about not taking something back. You can't unstir that, right? And I love that you gave yourself, you thought this was foolproof, Chris, of like, well, if I win, maybe I can get those letters back. If I lose, no harm, no foul, I'm out, right? But it's like, well, I live, and now and now what?
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, here's what do I do with this? And so I think there's an interesting thing through the whole scene of the two of you clocking each other with this new information of, Septimus has been, you've been viewing her, we don't know for how long, but there seems to be this long-standing attraction. And whereas if I wonder about for you, Jennifer, of like, to make it as exciting and as immediate, how much is she processing, right? Is the lens changing on Septimus of, well, he's always been witty, he's always been good to have here, and you trust him, etc., to a degree, but now it's this. So, do we just acknowledge that and not go any further? I mean, that alone would be an amazing scene. But the fact that if we decide to push it further is, where they keep going into more dangerous territory. So going back to the beginning, in that first scene, something, and we can always, you know, tighten this up and such, but I would encourage us from the jump, you know, for both of you, Téa and Jeff, of how often can we be stopped in our tracks? You know, the fact that like what you're supposed to be doing, Téa, is what? You're supposed to be doing your algebra, right? Isn't that what you're on your side of the table? That's your homework, right? So while you're working on that, Jeff, you're struggling to get through Couch of Eros. Is that right?
Yes.
And for what to give it a review, or what
Yeah.
is what's the purpose of this?
Well, I expect am I on? Yeah, I expect it's to give it a review. I mean, didn't Septimus write the review that Chater is so upset about?
Yeah.
For his previous work.
Yeah.
I mean, so he's a New York book review of books. He's a reviewer.
Yeah.
Something
So that's how you get some extra money too, right? Besides being the tutor.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, yes, that's what I'm doing. And it's like study hall. You know, we're both there sort of quietly doing our work, and all of a sudden she comes up with this question.
Right. Well, it's kind of interesting too. I mean, what yeah, go ahead.
Well, that sort of thing where, you know, you're sitting around and then just out of the blue, you ask whoever is in the room, you know, some completely out of the blue question. There's no context, right? Is
right.
Téa, for what she
well,
says?
Well, there is for not for you, but for her, right? Because Téa, don't you say that you heard them saying, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I specifically say it wasn't the algebra that I'm working on, but it's me overhearing but as far as like the immediate,
exactly.
As far as the immediate, no. I think I'm just literally doing it, like doing my homework. I'm just like, wait a minute, I just heard that. What does that mean? Like, just
right.
like, I think it's just like
exactly.
Well, it's
not more of a conversation we've been having. It's just
no,
as far as I'm
exactly
concerned, completely out of the blue, and all she's been doing is looking at algebra. And what
right.
does algebra have carnal embrace? Is that in the algebra?
Yeah.
Where'd that come from?
You know, it does.
Well, here's the thought, Téa. What if you're both struggling? So, Jeff, what if we lean into in this kind of study hall that you are like nails on a chalkboard, finger down your throat? It's revolting how you can't bring yourself to read another line of this, and yet you need that money, right? So you are. So I think that also allows you to be more sideswiped by Téa if you are so, you know, engaged and you know, and in pain over this thing. And I wonder, Téa, for you, is there the opportunity of like, you're trying to do the algebra and you can't solve what carnal embraces on your own?
I was
so like
thinking that, yeah, like if everything is an x plus y equals mx plus b in my head, I'm like putting together the conversation and like there's no equal. So like the only person who could know this is Septimus. So I have to ask him this. Yeah.
Right. So that it's like, what if that's the equivalent of you throwing down the algebra book, right?
Yeah.
And being like, all right, I need help. I need to hit the buzzer. Right? That's like, I really wanted to solve this myself. And we probably don't even know how many things you've solved without even talking to Septimus. You know, that's just like Tuesday for you. And then so if it's actually like in that place of, okay, then it bursts out of you.
Yeah.
Of like, and you know, we've all had that, right? That like you think that you've had this conversation with them already, or you think you've already jumped a couple of steps, and the person goes, wait, what? And you're like, no, you know, this. Why don't you're in my head, right? I mean, it feels like you two have spent so much time together that you have been able to speak each other's language. That's why later in the scene, Jeff, you can go, all right, let me guess, you're thinking this. No, you're thinking that. It makes sense to me, Téa, that you're like, well, obviously you know what I'm going to say. You know what I'm going to ask. Help me. Like, we have to tell me the answer on this. Like you said, there's no equals. So let's go.
Yeah.
I wanted to know this 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
And algebra is not comparing. There's no way I can even not think about this. I can't get back to the algebra until I solve for y, solve for carnal embrace, you know, and that allows yourself to kind of grab Jeff by the shirt verbally and be like, dude, what is this?
Yeah.
That's very good. And there's this interesting thing. I mean, what you just said made me think of, you know, when you ask someone you just happen to be sitting with, you know, literally something from another language, like, so what does pan dolce mean? What does that mean? And the other person is, you know, what are you talking about? And how quickly, I was just, this section about where he goes to the Latin made me think, I'm sorry you didn't understand that. You know, isn't that what he means when he says, I'm sorry the seed fell on barren ground? Like,
yes,
we had that word back when we were studying the Gallic Wars, right? When you were reading that, you should know that word. So you should have known it. And if you, I'm sorry you didn't remember, obviously it didn't take. And it's really, it's like,
which is great that like you turn it back on her, maybe as a way to move on, right?
Yeah.
And then like, and instead of being shamed, then you turn, now we're going to talk about masturbation. And it's like you did it to yourself in a way that it is like, wait, stony ground, I've heard that phrase.
Yes.
You know, and so I think there's another, yeah.
Once again, she gets ahead of me. It's like, she can't just keep it there. It's like.
So I think there's opportunities, Jeff, for you to take, let us see those hiccups, right? Like lean into the skipping on the record to, before you can respond, so that we can see. I think even from the jump, what if we even try that very first? So if you really, you know, give yourself a moment for you and Jeff to just sit there working on your own thing, being tormented by the thing you're being tormented, each of you. And then whenever you're ready, Téa, let it out full force. And then, and Jeff, have to, let's see you scramble.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, sure. Let's do it.
Brendon, if I might add something just to go further with what you're saying, I'm wondering if this is the thing that makes today different than the last, 100 days, right? This is a big country house. Her job is to study. His job is to teach her. She, one day might look a lot like the next, but today she's got some tea, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yes, that's great, Kate, because that also allows you, Jeff, because now I noticed that Septimus is like, no, wait, I back the tape up. But who? So I think there's opportunities there, Jeff, when we get to that section to be like, now I need to know.
Yeah.
And now this is the first time, like you said, Kate, maybe ever.
How many people know this? Well, it's just the groom and the horseman and the butler and everybody in the house except
right. Professor Plum in the study
with
the candlestick. He knows too. Everybody. So yeah. Okay.
So we're doing this now, right? Are we doing okay? Septimus, what is carnal embrace?
Carnal embrace is the practice of throwing one's arms around a side of beef.
Is that all?
No. Sorry. No. A shoulder of mutton, a haunch of venison, well hugged, an embrace of grouse, carnus, feminine flesh.
Is it a sin?
Not necessarily, my lady, but when carnal embrace is a sin, it is a sin of the flesh. QED. We had caro in our Garlic Wars. Garlic Wars. The Britons live on milk and meat, lacte et carne vivunt. I'm sorry that the seed fell on barren ground.
That was the sin of Onan, wasn't it, Septimus?
Yes. He was giving his wife, he was giving his brother's wife a Latin lesson, and she was hardly the wiser after it than before. I thought you were finding a proof of Fermat's last theorem.
It is very difficult, Septimus. You will have to show me how.
If I knew how, there would be no need for you. There would be no need to ask you. Fermat's last theorem has kept people busy for 150 years, and I had hoped it would keep you busy long enough for me to read Mr. Chater's poem in praise of love with only the distraction of its own absurdities.
Our Mr. Chater has written a poem.
He believes he's written a poem. Yes, he believes he's written a poem, yes. I can see that there might be more carnality in your algebra than in Mr. Chater's couch of Eros.
Oh, let me stop you there for a second. Yeah, first of all, I love kicking things off with that kind of intensity. How's that feeling?
Oh, it's good.
The
Yeah.
two of you. That's
Yeah.
that. And I think Jeff, to me, taking that much time, we are really exactly where you are. If you take that much time, we can be shocked by carnal embrace, so that you and the audience are right there with you, trying to come up with, okay, I'm gonna have to answer something. I'm gonna go with this, right? And then I think, Téa, that's great. I think the right from the beginning of then, is that all? I love, Jeff, you thought you were done, and then you have to now, okay, I'm back in it. Here we go. And then building that list of the mutton, the venison, and by the time you got to feminine flesh, that was another place of like, okay, done. We're closing the door, right? And that sense of and I think, I wonder, Téa, when we come back to it, what if you let Thomasina really now come around in a new surprising way? So now you're talking about spirituality. So that has to be what if that's a whole nother thing that can sideswipe Jeff of, oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So now we're talking sin,
Yeah.
right? Just when I was able to, yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? So I think you have to open up a whole other can of worms there in a much bigger way. Right now it feels like it's flowing. You're almost making it too naturally organic in the conversation. And I think you can be a little more,
Yeah, I think I can be more like I think I can be more 13 with it. Like this is all like I keep forgetting that. Like I'm definitely 13 learning all of this for the first time. So I can definitely give it more like, oh my gosh, like
because she's able to jump around as this brilliant 13-year-old in a way that Septimus works in a more linear way. But you're now going, okay, yes, but now what about spiritual? But also, what about the etymology? But also, right, so that you're this electron that keeps bouncing around, and he has to kind of keep up with you.
It's interesting because she's picking up both. Again, this is that duality, because you're picking up on the word, this weird, carnal embrace, this thing. And doesn't she ask, it seems to me she asked about sin because of the way everyone is whispering about it and the way they shut up about it. The second that, when they realized you were in the room, it's like, don't talk about it. It's because of the kid. So that raises this other thing. Well, is it wrong? And if it's, in 1809, wrong means sinful, right? So
yeah. So well, that's true, because that goes, Jeff, with what you only answered part of her question.
Answered part
all
of her
you
question,
talked about was carnal, right? Carne.
Yeah, and I tried to
embrace.
move it. I try to make it into a lesson, like I'm the teacher.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Carnal, it comes from this word, and I remember the Latin. Let's talk about Latin, and then she goes, "Forget about school. I want to know about why is everyone whispering."
Right.
And
it's.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, it may be obvious, but in 1809, answering fully honestly is a great way to get fired. Like if you're a tutor and you've got a 13-year-old pupil, like the parents will absolutely fire if you give an honest answer. So it's also just a great way to not get fired.
Jennifer, did you say 1809 or 2024?
Sorry. Yes, thank you.
Yes. Has anything changed?
Speaking as a teacher,
parents, children, and
Lord,
teachers?
Jeez, you guys actually have to teach. God.
Yeah. But like, like that is seriously, like if anyone walks in while you are accurately describing this. Bye, you are fired now.
Right?
So yeah, there's that too.
And at the same time, here's the amazing thing, Jeff, is that another person would lie to her, would give her half truths, but there's a bond that you two have already made before this scene starts, before the play starts, where you will answer her in this container of truth. All right, now I'm going to give you this container of truth. When you say, when carnal embrace is sinful, it is a sin of the flesh, QED, and you're right. And that's what I love is that when you are pushed by her to go further, you do.
Yeah.
You don't say that's not proper. What I think is so beautiful is that there's no judgment. There's no, you should not be talking about this.
Yeah. And he never says, I'll tell you later, or
no,
it's really for your parents, or it's something like that.
Right. And you don't even like acknowledge that I'm out of my depth or any of that. Like, you're not going to initiate it. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
If she asks, I will answer in a way that hopefully won't get me fired. But I will not answer. Right. But hopefully you're good with this answer. Oh, you're not.
No.
Crap. Okay, I'll give you this much more, right? But you're not going to open the floodgates until that's why we need this whole scene, because she keeps going, I think there's more behind that door.
Yeah.
I think you're not still, and maybe why is today different, Téa, is is this the first day you see Septimus squirm? You see him, your spider sense is tingling, going, I don't think and you would literally say this to him, I don't think you're being honest with me at one point. I don't know if you've ever said that to him. And I'm ashamed of you. What if those are all things you have never said? So I wonder, Jeff, when she says, I'm ashamed, you should be ashamed of yourself. What if you think, oh my God, she's added it up and she knows, what should I be ashamed of? Lying, having sex? There's a million things I could be ashamed of, right?
Yeah.
And it's the one thing you don't count on is what she means. But I think it can go deep, Téa, of like, see the last 10 minutes, you've been holding back. And to me, it only works if it's never been like that. And I love that you cop to it, Jeff. You're like, yep, you're right.
Yep.
I am ashamed. I should have handled this whole scene better.
I love what comes next after that. Not just the ashamed, but what Thomasina says, if you do not teach me the true meaning of things, who will? Right? I mean, she really calls him out on what are we doing here? And the intellectual relationship they've developed with each other, right? She expects him to teach her.
And the answer, the interesting thing is, she does not expect her parents. She does not expect anyone else in the world. Literally, she's a pretty privileged person at this time of the world and England, and she's got a lot of resources, but also the fact that it's interesting too, Jen, for that. I mean, Kate, tell me if this is accurate, but I would imagine that many houses of this time and this status are not spending a lot of money on tutors for their daughters.
I was just going to say exactly the same thing. She's very privileged and has a lot of resources, but she's a girl. Although in some households, yes, daughters were educated. It was rare, but in some it was true. Like in Lord Byron's household, his daughter, Ada. Yeah.
And so I would imagine that Jeff Septimus was tutoring both her and her brother, but her brother is now about to go off to, right, Eden.
Well, he might be there because she has a brother. He's brought in to tutor the brother, and the sister gets tutored too.
And she's a much more interested pupil.
She's a genius.
Right. So it gives Septimus some, it's more than, I mean, I can imagine, Chris and Jeff, that you're pretty lucky when if you ever correspond with other tutors or other people who have the privilege, the 1.0% of guys who could be hired to live on an estate, right, as a tutor. And the fact that like that alone is you've won the lottery, and the fact that 9 times out of 10 you're stuck with kids who do not appreciate everything you have to offer. And then the 0.0001% is you get Thomasina.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think he, you know, I love the Greeks have like 3 different words for love, but I think he loves Thomasina. I think, you know, in the agape sense or whatever it is, I think he knows what she is to some extent.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, it's fun talking to her. It's fun.
Yeah.
doing all
Unless it's about carnal embrace, and then it doesn't become so fun.
Well, then it's, yeah.
Then it's like, but
Then it's
how
a
do
little
I do
trickier.
this in this, yeah, in a way that does not shut it down? Because it's like,
Yeah.
and I think you know her well enough to be like, she's watching you, she's listening to everything.
Yeah.
It's like that Sondheim song, children will listen. She's gonna catch you out if you BS her.
Mhm.
And I love that we don't see the beginning of your relationship. We get it to a point where there is such trust.
Right.
And and I think so. Then when you pick up with Téa, that was the sin of Onan, wasn't it, Septimus? I wonder what if there's an opportunity to make that her first big light bulb of like, wait, I do remember that. I don't remember the carne thing because that wasn't interesting, but I do remember the seed falling on the ground.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? That could be kind of fun if like, oh, for you, Jeff, oh, great. So that's what you
Right.
remember. Please,
Okay.
please don't tell your parents. That was the takeaway. The the fact that when it also strikes me as interesting, Jeff, that almost immediately, with the distraction of its own absurdities and the next chunk, you share with Thomasina your own snarkiness about Chater that you don't have to. You know what I mean? You could have kept it super profesh and just being like, well, I'm reading this. Or, you know, and you know, but you actually kind of blur that line too.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. He talks to her. You know, he talks to her like a person. He yes, I think that's the kind of exchange that tells me again how mature, for whatever it is, their relationship is, or how the
Yeah.
regard he holds her in.
And the fact that you can trust her, right? I mean, you could say these things to her that could another child of her age could get back to Chater. But
Yeah.
to me, it tells me that you not only respected her, you trust that I can say this to you off the cuff,
Mhm.
and it's not going to bite me in the butt later.
Right.
And
Right.
and it kind of it does kind of show me, Téa, that I love that you jumped on the, oh my God, he's written a poem. What? Right? I love that, and that's the 13-year-old too. Now it's bright shiny object, right? Well, tell me about. Let's talk about that. And that seems great, Jeff. Good. We're not talking about sex anymore. We're not, no more carnal embrace. Then I'm happy to trash Chater and the poem as long as we don't circle back to that, right? But then I love that you again, you can't help yourself, Jeff, of I think there'd be more carnality in your algebra than Mr. Chater's Couch of Eros. And then that's when we have that first pause, right, Jeff, of the discovering carnal embrace in the gazebo. And then you start to prod, right? The with whom did JELLABY happen to say?
But yeah, I have to find out how much trouble I'm in.
Right. So and the fact that you jump right into that of that, oh shit, how much trouble am I in, is your first big slip up, right? That Téa's like, what do you mean with whom?
Yeah.
And so and that's great, Jeff. You have to really strip the gears. No. Oh my bad. Did I say with whom? What? That was that I don't know what I was thinking, right? So that that's the start of kind of you can't, because also I feel like, Jeff, this is your one shot before anyone comes in. There's urgency, right? It's like, well, if this is out, who knows? And I've got to shut this down ASAP because somebody's going to come into this room. You know what I mean? This is not a private. You're not in Lady Croom's closet,
Mhm.
or this is a pretty open space here. So I also love that kind of gives there's some stakes to, okay, tell me quick, what is happening
Yeah.
with what's going on out there? Tell me about this carnal embrace, you know? Um, uh, could we jump in with Téa with our Mr. Chater has written a poem? Can we just do a little bit
Yeah.
of that?
Our Mr. Chater has written a poem.
He believes he's written a poem. Yes, I can. I can see that there might be more carnality in your algebra than in Mr. Chaytor's couch of Eros.
Oh, it was not my algebra. I heard Jellaby telling Cook that Mrs. Chaytor was discovered in a carnal embrace in the gazebo.
Really? With whom, did Jellaby happen to say?
What do you mean, with whom?
With what? Exactly so. The idea is absurd. Where did this story come from?
Mr. Noakes.
Mr. Noakes?
Papa's landscape gardener. He was taking bearings in the garden when he saw through his spyglass Mrs. Chaytor in the gazebo in carnal embrace.
You mean to tell me that Mr. Noakes told the butler?
No. Mr. Noakes told Mr. Chaytor. Jellaby was told by the groom who overheard Mr. Noakes telling Mr. Chaytor in the stable yard.
Mr. Charles.
Wait 1 second. Sorry, Téa. So I think that's the first time you mentioned the groom, right?
Yes.
In all this. So
Yeah.
I think we have to pop that more. Now we have an eighth person.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I think you have to
Yeah.
introduce each character with a bit more
Gotcha.
pop, right?
Got it.
Go ahead.
Do you mean to tell me that Mr. Noakes told the butler?
No, Mr. Noakes told Mr. Chaytor. Jellaby was told by the groom who overheard Mr. Noakes telling Mr. Chaytor in the stable yard.
Mr. Chaytor being engaged in closing the stable door.
What do you mean, Septimus?
Okay, so Jeff, I have a huge question here. What is he getting at? What's the stable door moment?
He's closing the barn door after the horse is already out.
Oh, that's okay.
That's the expression. I mean, his wife is
Okay.
already out. And apparently, she's the village notice board.
Yeah.
Which apparently everybody knows except for Mr. Chaytor.
Right. Yes, that's great.
I mean,
okay.
that's an aside, it seems to be.
Yeah, so this is Septimus being clever for Septimus in a way, because that's going right over her head. Okay,
And
cool.
She asked the question, and this question I just flat out don't answer it at all.
Yes.
Move on to the next thing.
So can we go back to, and do you mean to tell me that Mr. Noakes told the butler?
And do you mean to tell me that Mr. Noakes told the butler?
No, Mr. Noakes told Mr. Chaytor. Jellaby was told by the groom who overheard Mr. Noakes telling Mr. Chaytor in the stable yard.
And Mr. Chaytor being engaged in closing the stable door.
What do you mean, Septimus?
So, thus far, the only people who know about this are Mr. Noakes, the landscape architect, the groom, the butler, the cook, and of course, Mrs. Chaytor's husband, the poet.
And Arthur, who was cleaning the silver, and the boot boy. And now you.
Of course. What else did he say?
Mr. Noakes?
No, not Mr. Noakes. Jellaby. You heard Jellaby telling the cook.
Cook hushed him almost as soon as he started. Jellaby did not see that I was being allowed to finish yesterday's upstairs rabbit pie before I came to my lesson. I think you have not been candid with me, Septimus. A gazebo is not, after all, a meat larder.
I never said my definition was complete.
Is carnal embrace kissing?
Yes.
And throwing one's arms around Mrs. Chaytor?
Yes. Now, Fermat's last theory...
I thought as much. I hope you are ashamed.
I'm a lady.
If you do not teach me the true meaning of things, who will?
Yes. I am ashamed. Carnal embrace is sexual congress, which is the insertion of the male genital organ into the female genital organ for purposes of procreation and pleasure. Fermat's last theorem, by contrast, asserts that when x, y, and z are whole numbers, each raised to the power of n, the sum of the first two can never equal the third when n is greater than 2.
Ah!
Well, nevertheless, that is the theorem.
It is disgusting and incomprehensible. Now, when I'm grown to practice it myself, I shall never do so without thinking of you.
Thank you very much, my lady. Was Mrs. Chater down this morning?
No. Tell me more about sexual congress.
There is nothing more to be said about sexual congress.
Is it the same as love?
Oh, no. It's much nicer than that.
Great, let's hold there. I love that now that she's disgusted by it, that thank you very much. I've done my job. You know?
Yeah.
That struck me this time of like, perfect, good, ew, ew, ew. Yes, absolutely. I'm great with that reaction. No notes.
We're not going to, yeah, we're not going to talk about that anymore, I guess.
Right. And you kind of saved it, right, Jeff? It's like you went through the last 4 pages, you know, skiing the double diamond slope through all of this. And you take the plunge, you make it totally technical.
Exactly.
She gets grossed out, and you're like, excellent. That's exactly what I was hoping for.
Okay.
You know,
yes.
But then your next, I love that you go back to the urgent problem of, okay, but tell me about, let's go back to Mrs. Chater for a second.
Back to the actual, yes, the thing that's expressed right now. Yeah, okay, yeah.
And the last thing I want to mention that we'll come back to next week is it's much nicer than that. To me, feels like that going back to what we talked about with Jennifer and you, Chris, of, oh no, love sucks. No, love's the worst, actually. You know, because it's like it's this whole idea of love and sex, but this idea of these moments that Septimus is saying things that he kind of almost knows will go over her head, but you just have to say it. You have to put it out there. And I think that there's just some really, is it the same as love? It's much nicer than that. It's not just clever, it's actually honest of, yeah, there is what you're feeling for Lady CROOM is not fun.
Yeah. Yeah,
Go ahead.
Pain. Love is pain. Yeah, love is pain.
So I think there's an opportunity when we come back to that, Jeff, of like, what happens if we show another shade there that passes over us a little bit? Just see what happens with Septimus in terms of,
right. Yes.
You know, that it's like, even if we forego a little bit of the clever spin, it's a chance for him to share. I mean, that's what's interesting is that he's he's kind of lonely. I mean, he does end up being a hermit. And what's fascinating as I'm working with you all today is it's striking me how it's beautiful and also really sad that he can share all this with Thomasina. His closest peer is a 13-year-old girl genius. And so he has this great job people would kill for in London. And yet, you know, you're sharing these things with her that are maybe not super appropriate, but who else can you share them with?
Yeah, exactly.
Brendon, can I put one little spin on great job?
Yeah.
Because this is, you know, if you're somebody who has money, you don't have to do this job. So this is maybe a guy who went to Oxford, who went to Cambridge, and he might not have other options. And if you read a bunch of 19th century literature, being a governess or a tutor kind of sucked, man. You're stuck on some old estate. You don't even like eat with the family. You're the help. You have this like great mind, and it's, you know, there were real challenges in a job like this, including loneliness. And if his only peer, like to amplify what you're saying there, his only peer is a 13-year-old genius. And that's great that he's got somebody, but the job itself has got some downsides.
Well, and Chris, this is something we can explore with you and Jennifer next week, is that like the status is also this other great thing to add to that scene of like, you are here at her whim, right? She runs the house, not her husband. We don't know anything about Mr. CROOM. And as she says very blatantly, banishment, I am God.
Mm-hmm.
And I will make it super clear. So I think this other thing about wanting her, loving her, you know as much as she does that like it's a little like 12th Night. It's like, how could I love you? How could I as Viola love Orsino? And there's that gap is going off of what Kate's saying, is that like I am not in any way the equal here. I'm here at your behest, and at any second it could be pulled out, right? So even though there is an effort, let's go, I'll say this, throughout your entire time here, there is a sense of having to walk on those eggshells, you know? You do not love the lady of the house, you know? Even if you hook up with someone of power, you do not love, because that will break your heart. That is nothing good can come from that. So to me, it implies that when you say that, Jeff, what I hear is this, your feelings for Lady CROOM have already been set in motion.
Right.
And yet you don't know what to do with them. Hey, Nathan.
Hey there. No, this is great. There's so much great discussion already happening. I was fortunate to play Septimus about 10 years ago, and I just remember, and I think the actors are experiencing this, that it's just so much fun wrapping your mouth around these lines, and for all the characters. There's just so much fun with this stuff. And I love the moments of specificity you guys are already kind of exploring and just going, what can we do with this here, and what's surprising us and we're learning here, and just the general discussion of some of the themes that we're covering in these scenes. It's really wonderful. So I want to thank everybody. It's been so much fun to be a fly on the wall for this process. So thank you all for such a great first session, and we're just getting started. So for those of us tuning in, watching, listening, come on back. There'll be even more discussion. Our other actor, JELLABY, Jamie, will be here for the next ones and for the remaining ones. So yeah, excited to keep exploring these two scenes from Arcadia. Thank you guys so much again for your time and talents, and it's been just wonderful.
Thank you, everybody.
So, yeah, have a great week. Have a great night. We'll talk again soon. See you next time.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thank
Or
you.
to next
Bye-bye.
week.
Thank
Bye.
you.